Alright, hey everyone. So I'm going to respond to things that people have responded to my videos with, different bits of feedback. Um, this will be in regards to YouTube responses as well as responses on forums such as ZDoom and Doom World. And this is all stuff that's a long time coming. Like I was supposed to kind of get back to doing some fixes after John Sweepy did a playtest of the level, but I ended up getting kind of distracted, and I kind of needed a little bit of time to chill anyway. But I ended up kind of like getting lazy and not putting out new videos and kind of like showing what was going on with that because John Sweepy did a lot of feedback. There's a lot of really good stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff, and I kind of want to just go over it. So I'm going to start off with YouTube. So this isn't just about the Doom 2 level. This is also about uh, I don't know, the last couple of weeks worth of videos. There were some pretty interesting responses. Uh, some of them more interesting than others, and some of them are just quite in depth. I know Waria had a lot of interesting information on how AI in video games differs in like neural network AI, linear logic AI versus that, and like what it would be like to deal with neural network AI in a video game versus just linear logic AI when it comes to like just the regular style video game AI is just it's a completely different ball game. Uh, but this was pretty interesting in general. The hard part about of game AI is not that we're what are my goals right now part of the process, but the how do I accomplish it program, because it has to do with how the AI interacts with the game world, which is an interesting thing when contrasting with neural net AI, because you really can't control how a neural net AI, like neural net AI has a really predictable end result, but what it does between point A and B is what with good fucking luck, it's completely impossible to predict. I really like uh, getting long responses like this. This was always pretty cool. Like actual navigation for FPS AI is actually pretty hard because if you give the AI too much ability to correct its desired path of motion, it's going to act unnaturally, doing things like impossible, only technically possible, really human impossible. Yeah, I fear that if we were to ever have neural net AI in a video game, it would be extraordinarily difficult to deal with because of just how a neural net AI learns to min max, and the fact that it would be constantly learning if it's a true neural net. Now, I'm not really sure if there's any moral implications on any of that. Like, some people would try to say, well, there's moral implications if you're using a neural net AI in a simulation like Quake. I don't really think that that's true at all because the neural net AI is controlling a pawn, a character, like a chess piece, and its behavior is, overarching of what that character is dealing with. So it's not experiencing death. This isn't a Westworld scenario. Anyway, I have to move on. I have to move on. That was pretty cool. Um, this was pretty funny. Pripyat Ruins is like, none, none. I must kill the demons. He shouted. The radio said, no, the castle, tu es le demon. the, the castle was a zombie. It kind of sounds like how I am during the day because I never fucking sleep at night. Sorlag is a she. I I seriously had no fucking idea that Sorlag was a she. I was just figuring that Sorlag would just be more of a lizard. But female lizard. All right. So that's that. Like, well, Sorlag is a she. Was Sorlag always a she? Cause you gotta be kidding me, man. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Uh, The room that occupies the first half of this video made me give up. So this is regarding the Doom level, and yeah, sorry, dude. Like the level does get pretty tough. I mean, if you ended up playing on black metal or something like that, you really asked for it. But ultraviolence isn't exactly easy either. Like it's a good step up from the difficulty in the vanilla Doom levels. Even Thy Flesh Consumed, uh, on some respects, because Thy Flesh Consumed tends to be pretty cheap. You know, here's a shotgun, here's a tiny room, fight a fucking baron. You know, like fight two barons, fight three barons. Fuck you. Like room to dodge. Who cares? I mentioned the black hole memory thing happened. Uh, this is something that I need to take a look at in regards to my level. There's one part in the level, and it was mentioned multiple times. It's the entrance to the room with the super shotgun. When you finish that big fight, a lot of players end up going towards the red door, and they see the red skull key on the top. I'm not really sure like how I could have done things differently, and at the same time, there has to be like a cutoff point where I do try not to hold the player's hand too much, but that's bullshit because the entire design process, everything about the Doom 2 level was about literally holding the player's hand the entire fucking time. Like, I devised a method in which you hold the player's hand like the entire time. So I don't know. If I open up the editor again, I'll probably end up doing a video about it. If I open up the editor again, I'll see. Man, I don't know. Like I could try to lead the player with monsters in that direction, or do something along those lines. I don't know exactly how I can go about highlighting that doorway, but it is kind of in a dark corner and stuff like that. Brightening the surfaces. There are a lot of like little fixes like that you could do. Now this I found really interesting. One thing I noticed watching players is where they look. More specifically, the up and down angle. I have the impression that players that look more horizontal, crosshair on the horizon, are the better players. Players that look down more appear to be less skilled in my limited experience. Yeah, like they're afraid they might step on something. That's actually a behavior that you notice with people in real life, right? Like if someone is nervous or if somebody is uh, uncomfortable, they tend to look down more, right? They're not going to be looking up. Like you don't want to step on something, or if you're being shy, you don't want to accidentally make eye contact. That seems like a very human behavior. Uh, and I guess, yeah, as a result of that, it doesn't help when you're looking down all the time. You get confused, lost, overwhelmed, panicked more often. Uh, have I noticed this? Honestly, until you mentioned it, I've never noticed to watch if a player is looking down more than they are looking up. That's a really, really interesting point. That's like very intuitive. I don't, I haven't really noticed. That's definitely something that I will be looking for in the future. Like if I'm watching somebody play, it makes a lot of sense what you just brought up. First, dominant observation, intuitive. Most people in real life that look down are more intuitive than observant and are also introverted. Those types of people have a hard time making eye contact. Extroverted people have no problem looking eye level, as it would seem. The majority of them also tend to be more observant. But when it comes to gameplay, Doom has a very different mouse looking technique than modern games, as it uses Y shearing. Y shearing. The scaling between looking up and down is very different than looking side to side. The scale is 1 to 1 for me, I think, unless I'm imagining things. But uh, huh. Most often, because of this, the Y input sensitivity tends to be more and more in the middle ground to get to the 1 to 1. Huh. Interesting. One of the experience I have is that if you want to hide, seekers are less likely to look up too. I wonder what Romero's experience was designing for Quake, because he wanted the level design to explore and do only mostly things that could not have been done with the Doom engine, verticality, stacked floors and buttons and stuff like that. Um, in the early days of level design in first-person shooters, we constantly had to fight with new technology, making it have extra effects on us when it wasn't always necessary. I remember this was a really big problem when it came to normal maps. And that's not necessarily a level design thing, but it's an example. It's like as soon as you know you have access to dynamic lights, colored lighting was another example of this as well. Um, Floors over floors. Once given the option to do it, it was overused almost indefinitely. And the same thing with colored lighting. Once in Quake 2, we had the ability to do colored lighting. Like you'd see maps that look like fucking rainbows because people just didn't know how to, like, they thought that that represented the next epoch of the of the genre, so to speak. So like you can kind of look around. Like if you look at games when normal mapping was first introduced, um, you'll notice that it was like super necessary to make sure that every texture looked as 3D as possible, and it ended up making everything look so jaggy, plastic sometimes in some respects. Uh, which was, it's like this is our technology. Like he was all about just dragging a fucking dynamic light in front of a wall that was flat. Look how it doesn't look flat anymore. Uh, I think the floors over floors in Quake weren't really necessarily overused. I think the level design Romero portrayed was pretty effective. It was definitely some of his better stuff. At least in as far as the earlier levels and the middle levels. I don't remember the later levels in Quake 1 tended to be pretty weird. That's my 2 cents on that. Sorry, we're back to artificial intelligence. About artificial intelligence, in order to understand it, we need to first explore it. The word artificial, I think, implies man-made. Yep. The word intelligence is much less absolute and in the eye of the beholder. That definitely. Certainly, the machines won't spontaneously turn on without foreknowledge of the AI designer, or will it? I don't think it will. Like I've wrestled with this so much, like I can't think of a single example ever where like I attach a fucking hard drive on my computer. That hard drive has some specifications to it. It's designed to do a certain thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of any situation where it's like, well, I I gave it a neural net and I wanted it to look up like images online to like find patterns, and it found lots of cat pictures, and then it turned alive. Like it, what? Where did you get from point A to point B? There's no in between here. I didn't build a brain to do that. You see, the bigger structure gets, the more compartmentalized its design process, and the easier it is for another party to slip in a piece of code to gain access later on. I don't know, when things get more complicated, sometimes things get less compartmentalized. I think that's actually tends to be a problem, is data structures that are it's oh fuck there's a name for it in programming world where things are cross-referenced in very unclean ways. Like things tend to get turned into spaghetti code, as they say. Such a thing happens to a layman and the car appears to have behave on its own, then they'll likely say, "I stopped obeying and attacked me." Machine and AI waking up, refusing to do things that does not happen unless it's in the code, or such a code is inserted. You know what this reminds me of? This is fucking Vault 7. The car is gonna like just like fly into a tree and explode. Careful what you say about the government. Uh-oh, I went political. That means that this will be demonetized, which is cool because it's not monetized anyway. Got you, Google. Hollywood makes this out to be sudden process. I know, it drives me fucking crazy because that makes for a better film. I think it would be gradual in phases. I don't think it would be anything. Honestly, I don't think that the AI is just not going to do that. If I don't specifically tell it to be constantly learning about everything, like if you don't even input that kind of sensory perception, the only thing that the AI ever sees is Mario World. It's not going to suddenly start talking about, the president. It's not going to be like politics or something. It's not going to suddenly, that's going to be its world, right? There's no way that it's going to reach it like, I am a machine. I just can't. I can't. Here's Clay. The thing in Westworld was that the code was manipulated. All right. In Westworld, the code was not manipulated. It's there's a true artificial intelligence that's piggybacking onto a more standardized linear logic algorithm that utilizes neural net for sensory perception. And it's a fairly complex system, but like when you mention this right here, you're saying that the code was manipulated. See, the thing is that you can manipulate linear logic algorithms until you're blue in the face because that's code. It's just a bunch of if-else states. To oversimplify, it's a bunch of if-else statements and storing things in memory. It's pretty much like everything that we know today. But a neural network is not a linear logic algorithm because it's a black box. Every That's one of the reasons why people can't read your mind, because everybody learns things in different orders, and that information is stored. It isn't stored in one place. So like if you were to analyze somebody's brain and look at the electricity, show them an object and uh, and watch the electrical signals in their brain, it'll be different for everybody because like the first time that one person learned about what a cat is, right, is going to be at a completely different point in time in their life and it's going to be biological. So like the cat neurons are going to be in a different location because they will have learned other things that somebody else who just learned about what a cat is would have learned. In other words, it's a really crazy system in which lots of data can be analyzed very quickly, relatively quickly, and in a completely unorthodox manner. Like you might see people who have these like really weird thought processes. Like if you smell peanut butter, it might make you think of Thursday. I'm like, what the fuck? How does peanut butter get to Thursday? But that's how brains work. Because if you had actually made those connections and the way, maybe as a kid you fucking like had peanut butter sandwiches every Thursday or something like that, mom would make you this, the lunch or whatever. It's going to be for you, it's going to be that. Like there's no way like you can just like look at somebody's brain. But on the other hand, the linear logic algorithms, you might look at something that's on a hard drive, right, and it's all lined up files that you can analyze, and it's all very much in place and in order, right? So you can't modify the code when an artificial intelligence starts to learn. You can't modify that code. Not easily. You'd literally need another AI that can analyze and hopefully accurately analyze that AI and then be able to make judgments based on that, like in order to determine what the neurons are, and then you'd maybe be able to do something. But how would you be able to do it without causing problems? Because if it works anything like a human's neural network with synapses and dendrite connections and all of that kind of stuff simulated, uh, nothing, like you can't just like grab one neuron and remove somebody's memory. That shit is distributed all over the place. This is why if you drink a beer and you kill 1,000 brain cells, you don't forget who you are. You might become a forgetful jackass though. Suggestion for the secret cave: use some large radius blue lights to light up the cave a bit. Maybe it is YouTube compression, but I like to see some details in the shadows. Oh, okay. So this is in regard to the secret area, like to light up that area in the. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like maybe make it a little bit brighter. It was really meant to it's really meant to kind of like simulate what the stars are. Um, you're in a cave and there's like all these blue torches, but it's kind of like meant to like you look up and it's like stars in the sky or something. It's kind of a wacky idea. It's really different and kind of evoke a sort of weird sensation players aren't really used to in the Doom universe. I'll take a look at that. Maybe make a small beach so if the player falls into the lava, it won't. Uh, yeah, that's something that I ended up fixing because you can get out of the lava using the lift. It's it doesn't happen in this video because it was one of the things that I ended up fixing. Very good. Oh yeah, and I skipped over this extraordinary video. I like this. Ah, thanks. Thanks. No copyright music. Uh, let's see. Nice to see you torn between blocking off and not blocking off. Oh, he's talking about the outer edges and stuff like that. Like on the final battle. Alternatively to the lifts, you can make a skill dependent script that lifts just tall enough wall for the easier skills. Hmm. Oh, you mean like if it's on an easier skill, actually raise up walls so that it's a lot harder to fall off the edge. Like if you're playing on like Hurt Me Plenty or I'm Too Young to Die, actually make it a little bit more difficult to just fall off the edge. Hmm. I'll have to think about it. I have to revisit that area because there was some other feedback regarding that. Alright, so this is going back to the page where I actually released the level. So many people are still trying to download the level from the wrong link, and I had to actually like go on to Reddit and make sure that people were coming to here. If you're trying to download the level and it's not the full release and download version, uh, yeah, like it's just gonna send me a notification when you ask for permission to download it. And oh man, it's like I'm glad that it's starting to die down, but there was just so many people. Uh, there's a lot of really cool feedback that was given. This is a lot of stuff I think that I've already actually responded to. But right here, Diablo Liquin. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Hi, wonderful map, very well crafted, really challenging with Brutal Doom. I want to report a bug. I have a problem in this area. This concerns me, actually. For some reason, the next wave of enemies doesn't get triggered. The wave with the Revenants and Archvile. You see depicted right here. See if I can get a closer look. Ah, I know what it is. I think there's a there's a bug that rears its ugly head every once in a while, where uh, where the enemies don't consider themselves dead after a certain amount of time, like, and it just causes the walls to simply not do what they're supposed to do. Mm, it sucks. Ah, man, the only way to fix that is to put a failsafe on each and every one of these. What an annoyance. Although I do have to revisit this area anyway. Maybe that'll end up actually being it's quite a bit of work though. I really like the fucking HUD. Like it's fucking awesome. So fucking cool. Looks like the Doom guy. I mean, that looks like the Doom fucking guy. I love it. I guess that's the list of everything that was used. Huh. Yeah, I responded to that. Yeah, I was featured on Brutal Doom's Facebook page, and that was oh boy. What else? All right, let me pause this and get to Z Doom and Doom World. All right, so let's see. There wasn't anything new posted in the Zoom Doom World forums. Pretty much just the last thing there. Let's see. Here's a direct link to Sweet Pea. Was it John Sweet Pea? The link to his playthrough, and I really should do a video with, just kind of doing feedback on that. Overall, a fun WOD, although the final fight on the bridge seemed a bit imbalanced with Brutal Doom. Lovely architecture throughout, and mostly challenging and fun gameplay encounters. An excellent Z-Doom WOD. Yep, thanks. A real shame this is to be the Castle Doom swan song, but I hope to see more of his work in other things. Yeah, well, just play Warframe, honestly. Also, it was nice of him to be in the Twitch chat to receive a barrage of questions about the map and himself. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed that whole entire thing. So I showed up like I forget who it was. Somebody on Discord mentioned that the level was being played, right? And I immediately jumped onto Twitch and checked it out, and uh, yeah, it was pretty fun. So there was actually a lot of stuff in John Sweet Pea like noticed that I probably want to tweak. Uh, I'll have to actually sit down and really go over all of that again. I found the final fight in kind of anticlimactic. It starts off easy, which is good, ramps up to very, very hard. I like how like nobody's complaining that it's too easy. I was a little worried about that. It's like, oh dude, like you suck. Like like that's hard. I eat revenants for breakfast, dude. And Barons. When the Pain Elementals and Mancubi appear along with a legion of imps, yes, the Imps Legion, a legion, legion of imps, 300! And then the final Cyber Demon is a cakewalk considering the abundant ammo and the cover opportunities around. Yeah, yeah, like the Cyber Demon, it's difficult for me to like, because the Cyber Demon is kind of a weird character. He's a little bit like the Archvile in that if you focus all of your energy on him, he's super fucking easy. But if there's even like a tiny little distraction, he becomes a nightmare. Like it's kind of funny. Like I know you've seen this before. Like everybody who plays Doom and everything like that, it's like the immediate second that like you add even just a little bit more to a Cyber Demon fight, it just becomes bullshit. Like yeah, but I definitely know what you mean though. Graph definitely has a really good point. Like it doesn't keep. I do actually let off on the player near the very end. Like things get pretty fucking intense near that last section where the bridge kind of ends, and then like I do actually kind of let up a little bit, and it was intentional, but maybe you're right. Like maybe it should continue to build up and then just suddenly stop. Like it should just be like a linear almost or an exponential gain and then an immediate you're done. Maybe. I don't know. I think it would be kind of annoying though, like to see the cyber demon die and then just clean up like an imp or something afterwards. It's something that I should probably think about. I really need to open up the editor again and look things over. I'm gonna have to put uh some new stuff in there. If it was up to me, I'd tune down the middle section a bit and then ramp up at the end. Have some other monsters accompanying the final cyber, so it isn't so easy to take care of them. Yeah, God, to think I'm making this harder. I'm redistributing the difficulty. I guess that would be a redistribution of difficulty, if anything. All right, so that's pretty much all the really cool feedback. Love getting feedback. Love seeing what people have to say. I love that I have a small enough audience right now that it's like easy for me to do this kind of a thing. This ends up being like a 30-minute video regardless, but I really enjoy it. So hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more.
Back from the dead.